Clara poured herself another cup of tea, the steam a small, comforting cloud against the kitchen window pane. Outside, the late afternoon light was softening over the rolling fields surrounding the old farmhouse. 4 years. It had been 4 years since the accident. 4 years since the phone call that had shattered her world into a million irreparable pieces. Her Anna, her Michael. Gone, swallowed by a sudden blizzard on a treacherous mountain road. She still lived in their farmhouse, a place Anna had inherited from her own grandmother, a place filled with laughter and sun-drenched memories of a life that felt both impossibly close and achingly far away. Now it was filled with the boisterous energy of her two grandchildren, Emma and Noah, 7-year-old twins with their mother's bright eyes and their father's mischievous grin. They were the reason she got up every morning, the reason she kept going when the grief threatened to pull her under. But oh, the grief. It sat heavy in her chest, a constant, dull ache. It was hardest when Emma or Noah, with the innocent cruelty of childhood, would ask, "Grandma, when are Mommy and Daddy coming home?" Or, "Grandma, what was Mommy's favorite color?" They wanted to talk about their parents, to keep their memory alive, while Clara, paradoxically, found herself wanting to shield herself from the pain. Talking about Anna felt like opening a wound that would never heal. So she'd change the subject, offer a cookie, distract them with a game. The memories were locked away, too precious and too painful to touch. Raising them wasn't easy. Clara was 70-something, her energy not what it once was. There were school plays, scraped knees, endless questions about everything under the sun. She loved them fiercely, a love that was both a balm and a reminder of the love that was lost. The responsibility felt enormous, a constant weight on her shoulders. She worried if she was doing enough, if she could possibly fill the void left by Anna and Michael. They deserved parents, not a tired old grandmother who still cried into her pillow at night. It was a mild autumn day, the kind where the air was crisp and the leaves were turning glorious shades of red and gold. School was out for a long weekend, and the children were full of boundless energy. They had been playing hide-and-seek in the barn and the sprawling garden all afternoon. Clara watched them from the kitchen window as she tidied up, their bright jackets bobbing amongst the fruit trees. "All right, you two," she called out, stepping onto the porch. "Almost time to come in. Supper will be ready soon." Emma emerged from behind a large old apple tree, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Okay, Grandma. I found Noah 3 times." "Where is he now?" Clara asked, scanning the garden. The late afternoon sun was casting long shadows. "Oh, he's hiding really good this time," Emma giggled. "He said he had the best hiding spot ever." Clara smiled. Noah always liked to find the most elaborate hiding places. "Well, tell him it's time for the best hiding spot ever to come in." Emma skipped off, calling Noah's name. Clara went back inside to finish setting the table. A few minutes passed, then 10. Emma came back inside, looking less excited, more puzzled. "He's not answering, Grandma," she said, her brow furrowed. "I called him." Clara's smile faded. "Maybe he fell asleep. Sometimes he gets sleepy after running around." She walked back out to the porch. "Noah! Noah! Supper's ready, darling." Silence. Only the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. A knot of unease tightened in Clara's stomach. "Emma, where did you look?" "Everywhere. The barn, behind the shed, under the big bush." Emma listed the usual spots. Clara walked down the steps, her eyes sweeping the familiar landscape. The garden was enclosed by a low stone wall, and beyond that were fields and further still, the edge of the woods that bordered the property. He wouldn't have gone into the woods, would he? She had told them 100 times to stay in the garden or the barn. "Noah!" she called again, louder this time, a tremor entering her voice. The silence felt heavy, wrong. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter. She started walking, moving faster now, her eyes darting everywhere. Behind the old wheelbarrow by the compost heap, behind the tool shed. "Noah, this isn't funny. Come on out." Emma followed her, her lower lip starting to tremble. "He's really not anywhere, Grandma." Panic, cold and sharp, began to prick at Clara. He wasn't one to wander far, not usually. He was cautious. Where could he be? She walked to the edge of the garden, peering over the stone wall towards the open field. The field sloped gently down towards a thicket of trees that marked the beginning of the deeper woods. There was also the old overgrown greenhouse, a derelict structure of warped wood and broken glass panes that sat about 100 yards from the house, tucked away near the tree line. It had belonged to Anna's grandmother, too, and had been Anna's favorite place to play as a child, pretending she was a great explorer, discovering exotic plants. Clara hadn't gone near it in years. It was too potent a reminder of Anna. Emma, did Noah say where his hiding spot was? Emma shook her head, tears starting to stream down her face. Just the best spot. Clara's mind raced, trying to think like a mischievous 7-year-old boy. The barn was obvious. The garden was obvious. The greenhouse. It was out of bounds, neglected, perhaps a little spooky to a child, but it was hidden, set back from the main house and mostly obscured by trees and overgrown bushes. Could he have gone there? Leaving Emma on the porch with strict instructions to stay put, Clara hurried across the field, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The grass was long, damp with dew. The air was growing colder. "Noah!" she shouted, her voice strained. "Noah, are you in the greenhouse?" As she got closer, she saw the sagging roof, the missing panes of glass, the door hanging crookedly on a single hinge. "Noah!" She pushed the door open carefully, wincing as it groaned. The inside was dim, smelling of damp earth and decaying leaves. Broken pots lay scattered on the dirt floor. Tendrils of ivy snaked through the broken glass. "Noah, are you in here?" Silence. A mouse scurried across the floor. Her heart sank. He wasn't here. Where else? The woods? A mile down the road? The possibilities, each worse than the last, crowded her mind. She stumbled back outside, the setting sun now painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Beautiful, but also a grim reminder that night was coming. She had to call for help. Back at the house, she quickly called Mrs. Gable, her kind neighbor who lived just down the lane. Mrs. Gable, a woman who had seen much in her 80-odd years, listened calmly, then sprang into action. Within minutes, she was on the phone, calling other neighbors, organizing a search party. Soon cars started arriving, their headlights cutting through the deepening twilight. Familiar faces gathered on her porch. Farmer McGregor, the Miller twins, young Sarah from the post office. Clara tried to answer their questions, her voice shaking. Emma clung to her leg, sobbing quietly. People fanned out across the fields into the edges of the woods, calling Noah's name. They had flashlights now, their beams piercing the gloom. Hours passed. The sky turned completely black, studded with indifferent stars. The air grew cold. The searchers returned periodically, their faces grim, shaking their heads. No sign of him. Clara sat huddled on the porch swing with Emma wrapped in a blanket. The sounds of the search, distant shouts, the crunch of leaves, a terrifying soundtrack to her worst fears. Mrs. Gable sat beside her, holding her hand, offering quiet words of comfort that couldn't penetrate the wall of panic she felt building inside her. "He wouldn't go far," Mrs. Gable murmured. "He's a sensible boy." "But it's dark now," Clara whispered, the tears she had been holding back finally spilling over. "It's so dark. What if something happened?" The old fears, the ones she carried from Anna and Michael's accident, resurfaced with brutal clarity. Loss. How could she bear another loss? How could she face Emma if something happened to Noah? The physical exhaustion of the day, coupled with the crushing weight of anxiety, began to take its toll. Mrs. Gable gently insisted she take Emma inside, sit by the fire, try to rest while the search continued. Clara was bone-weary, her body aching, her mind a frantic whirl of worry. Inside, by the flickering light of the fireplace, she lay on the sofa with Emma curled up beside her breathing shallow and uneven. She stroked Emma's hair, whispering reassurances she didn't fully believe herself. Her own eyelids felt heavy, weighted down by fatigue and despair. The sounds of the search faded into a dull roar in the background. She drifted, caught between wakefulness and sleep, the edges of reality blurring. And then, they were there. It wasn't a dream, not exactly. It was more real, more vivid than any dream she had ever had. The air in the room seemed to shimmer, growing warmer, filled with a soft, gentle light that wasn't from the fire or the distant flashlights. Standing at the foot of the sofa, bathed in that light, were Anna and Michael. They looked, well, they looked happy, peaceful. The fear she expected to feel, seeing them standing there, didn't come. Instead, a wave of overwhelming love and comfort washed over her, so powerful it stole her breath. They weren't ghosts, they were present, solid. Their smiles were gentle, their eyes filled with an infinite loving understanding. Anna stepped slightly forward, her hand reaching out, not to touch Clara, but seeming to point. Pointing towards the window, the one that looked out across the field toward the tree line. Clara followed her gaze, her heart pounding a different rhythm now. Not fear, but a frantic, hopeful energy. Through the window in the dim light that seemed to emanate from them, Clara saw it, the outline of the old greenhouse, and something else, a small, dark shape huddled inside. Anna's eyes met hers, and in that gaze, Clara understood. It wasn't just about showing her where Noah was. There was a message in those loving depths, a silent communication that bypassed words. It was gratitude, deep and profound. Thank you, Mama. The message resonated in Clara's soul, clear as a bell. Thank you for our babies. Thank you for keeping them safe. We see you. We love you. Michael nodded, his smile widening, confirming Anna's silent words. They weren't gone, not entirely. Their love, their gratitude was still here, watching over their children, watching over her. The light intensified for a moment, the figures of Anna and Michael becoming almost blindingly bright. And then, as quickly as they appeared, they were gone. Clara jolted awake, her heart hammering, her body electric with a sudden, fierce certainty. Emma stirred beside her, murmuring in her sleep. The farmhouse was quiet, the distant sounds of the search muffled. But Clara knew. She knew where Noah was. She scrambled off the sofa, her legs unsteady for a moment, then propelled by a surge of adrenaline. She ran to the front door and threw it open, ignoring the cold night air. Mrs. Gable was sitting on the porch, speaking quietly into a walkie-talkie. "Mrs. Gable," Clara gasped, breathless. "I know where he is, the greenhouse. He's in the old greenhouse." Mrs. Gable looked at her, startled by her sudden appearance and the wild conviction in her eyes. "The greenhouse, Clara? Are you sure? We checked there earlier, didn't we?" Yes, I'm sure," Clara insisted, her voice ringing with absolute certainty. "He's there. I know it." There was something in Clara's demeanor, something in her eyes that brooked no argument. Mrs. Gable, a woman who trusted her instincts and knew the quiet strength of her neighbor, didn't hesitate. She spoke quickly into the walkie-talkie. "Attention search parties, attention. Clara has a strong lead. Check the old greenhouse. Repeat, the old greenhouse." Clara didn't wait. Pulling a coat over her nightgown, she grabbed the largest flashlight she could find and ran out into the yard, heading towards the field. Mrs. Gable called after her, "Wait, Clara, I'll come with you." But Clara was already moving, her feet flying across the damp grass, guided by an inner compass far more accurate than any map. The beam of her flashlight bobbed erratically as she ran, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She reached the edge of the greenhouse, her heart leaping into her throat. The door was still ajar. "Noah!" she cried, pushing the door open wide. "Noah, are you in here?" The flashlight beam swept across the dim interior. And there, tucked into a corner, behind a pile of old clay pots, was a small, huddled figure. "Noah!" He looked up, his eyes wide with fright and relief, illuminated by the beam of her light. "Grandma!" He launched himself into her arms, clinging to her tightly, sobbing into her shoulder. Clara held him, rocking him, tears of overwhelming relief streaming down her face, mixing with the cold night air on her cheeks. He was safe. He was safe. Mrs. Gable and several other searchers arrived moments later, their own flashlights converging on the scene. The relief that rippled through the small group was palpable. Noah was checked over, cold and scared, but physically unharmed. He mumbled about his great hiding spot being a little too good and how he got scared when it got dark. Back in the warm kitchen, with Noah wrapped in a blanket and sipping hot cocoa, and Emma hovering nearby, her tears forgotten in the joy of her brother's return, Clara finally felt the tension drain from her body. Mrs. Gable stayed for a while, ensuring everyone was calm, before the neighbors slowly dispersed, their mission accomplished. Later, after Emma and Noah were tucked soundly into bed, Clara sat by the fire, the quiet of the farmhouse now a welcome comfort, not an empty space. She thought about the vision, about Anna and Michael. It hadn't been a dream, it had been a gift, a moment of connection that transcended the boundaries of life and death. That night, for the first time in 4 years, Clara didn't shy away from the memories. She pulled out an old photo album. She sat by the fire, turning the pages, looking at pictures of Anna and Michael, their wedding day, trips to the beach, holding Emma and Noah as newborns. And as she looked, a soft smile touched her lips. The pain was still there, a part of the story, but it no longer consumed her. It was intertwined with the love, the laughter, the sheer joy these pictures captured. She thought of Anna's gentle eyes, Michael's warm smile, their faces in that luminous moment in her vision. Thank you, Mama, for our babies. The gratitude, the peace, the enduring love she had felt. It was real. They knew, they saw, and they were grateful. The weight on her shoulders, the crushing responsibility, suddenly felt lighter. She wasn't alone in this. She was part of a continuum of love, a bridge between the past and the future. Anna and Michael's love lived on, through her, through their children. The next morning, she woke with a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. At breakfast, as Emma and Noah chattered about their adventure, Clara did something she hadn't done before. You know, she said, her voice steady and warm, Mommy loved that old greenhouse when she was a little girl. She used to pretend she was exploring jungles in there. Emma and Noah looked at her, their eyes wide. Clara smiled. She did. And Daddy, well, Daddy used to help her gather interesting leaves and stones to put in there. She started telling them stories. Stories about Anna's childhood, about how Anna and Michael met, funny anecdotes she hadn't shared, afraid they would make her cry. But they didn't. They brought warmth, laughter, and a sense of connection. Emma and Noah listened, rapt, their faces alight with interest. The old farmhouse still held echoes of the past, but now they felt less like haunting reminders of loss and more like comforting whispers of love. The greenhouse remained derelict, but it became a special place, a quiet memorial, a symbol of connection. Clara continued raising Emma and Noah, facing the challenges and joys of grandmotherhood head-on. Grief was still a passenger on her journey, but it no longer sat in the driver's seat. It had found a place in the back, quieter, less demanding. She learned to talk about Anna and Michael with openness and love, weaving their memory into the tapestry of their everyday lives. She had been given a gift in the dark of the night, a reminder that love transcends barriers, that the bonds of family are stronger than loss, and that sometimes when you are most afraid and lost, a light can guide you, a message can find you, bringing not only guidance, but a profound healing peace. And in that peace, Clara found the strength to live fully, to love fiercely, and to carry the light of Anna and Michael's memory forward. One story, one shared moment, one precious day at a time.